Today I want to show you a must-know recipe for the holidays, and it's the classic super deluxe honey cake. But don't you push pause and don't you go away just because you think you hate honey cake. Make this one and you'll be loving it. Okay? Let me show you how. Hi, thanks for stopping by to watch me, Leah Cook Kosher. Today I'm going to show you a must-know recipe for the upcoming holidays. Our super deluxe honey cake is super deluxe for a reason. Look at all these ingredients. And you know, I'm not going to name them all off, but I will tell you that a honey cake does take honey, and ours takes some great Canadian whiskey. That said, don't forget the complete recipe and instructions are on my website, LeahCooksKosher.com. That way we don't have to run through all of this, but I'll show you how to put it all together. Okay, let's get started. While I'm standing here smelling wonderful spices, let's put our dry ingredients together first. Our cake has flour, and we have baking powder, salt, and baking soda. And in addition to those basic dry ingredients, we have cinnamon, ginger, and cloves. We're just going to add those all together like that. And I'm going to give it a little whisk so we can be sure to incorporate all those spices throughout the entire cake. Let's talk about the raisins, because the cake also has plenty of nice dark raisins. You can also use the golden ones if you prefer. I have mine with a little bit of water inside. They were a little dry, so I want to plump them a little bit. If you don't do this step, your raisins will absorb the liquid from the cake, and the resulting cake is going to be that one you really don't like, okay? The one that's dry. Now we're going to add all our wet ingredients plus the sugar to our mixing bowl. Of course, if you're working in the kitchen alone without distractions, you can just go ahead and measure all your ingredients right into the mixing bowl and save yourself a number of dirty dishes. So that was my honey. This, of course, sugar. We have canola oil. Our 4 eggs that we've already checked for blood spots, orange juice, and I do need a 1/4 teaspoon of orange extract. And we have our Canadian whiskey. Smelling really fabulous. I'm going to turn the mixer on a low heat just to combine. Once I've combined this just a little bit, I'm going to turn up the speed to medium and beat it for a full 2 minutes. We'll be right back. That's looking great. All right, now we do our dry ingredients. I'm going to take my bowl of flour and all the spices and whatnot, and now I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on my moist raisins. This is going to prevent them from sinking to the bottom of the cake. We hope. This mixing technique we're going to do is sort of a classic way of doing cakes, where you mix in 1/4 of the dry ingredients, alternating with our last ingredient we haven't talked about, which is coffee. I don't drink coffee, so I don't have any brewed coffee around here today, so I just mixed up a little instant. It'll be fine and add a nice, that coffee taste to the cake. I'm going to add 1/4 of my dry ingredients. And you can just estimate that. and 1/3 of my coffee. More flour. Wow, this is really reminding me of the bakery days. That whole smell of Rosh Hashana. When I'm catering, I'm usually mixing up about 40-pound batches. So it's a little bit different for me to look at a small bowl full of batter. I'm just mixing until it's combined because I don't want to overmix. And then we end with the last of the flour. I'm going to give this a little scrape down, get everything off the sides, scrape the bottom really well. Okay, I'm going to beat that about a minute on a medium speed just to get some air incorporated in there. That is looking great. Scrape my bowl. So it's a loose cake batter, as you would expect. And now I'm going to stir my raisins that have been coated with flour. All right, that's looking nice. So let's prepare our baking pan. I am going to use the 10-inch tube pan, and if you want smaller cakes, the same amount of batter will make 2 7-inch tube pans. You can buy these smaller, or you can also make loaf pans, and that way there you can give them to your friends. Nice Rosh Hashana treat. This is a loose cake batter, so a trick I've learned is to take a piece of parchment paper and trace around the outer edge, and with your scissors cut a quick circle. Doesn't have to be perfect. I always cut off the actual pen markings just because the inside of the pan is actually smaller than the outside. Now I'm going to remove the inner piece of my tube pan, and I'm going to set this just directly into the bottom. That way there, if anything wants to leak under, it's actually just going to stay within that parchment paper. And then for this piece, I need my spray. And I'm not going to spray the sides of the cake pan, I'm just going to spray the middle. All right, now our pan is prepared. So this is very simple. All you have to do is pour the batter in. I'm going to try to drop some of those raisins on there evenly. All right. Ah, it smells so fabulous. It smells like fall is in the air. It smells like Yontif is coming. This is really a must know how to make. I'm going to pop it into my preheated 325-degree oven. It does take a while to bake. I'll take a peek at it at about 30 minutes, but it's really going to take about 55. Ah, this smells Great. Okay, we're going to do our standard test on cakes. I'm pushing it down, and you can see that it springs back. Now, especially with the honey cake, you don't want to overbake it. So this is ready. I'm going to put it on my cooling rack, and we'll take it out of the pan when it's had a chance to set. Our cake is cooled enough that I think I'm going to go ahead and take it out. I have my very sharp, thin knife, and we're going to run it around the edge. Now, you may have heard me say this before, but when you're doing that, you want to hear the metal against the side of the pan. Otherwise, you'll cut part of your cake off if you start doing all these funky moves, okay? So, like we say, pedal to the metal. And we just take that around. I'm lifting out because I have these little rivets I want to avoid. Okay. And a little down in here, although this was sprayed, so it should come off. And this is our angel food pan, so I'm going to punch it up from the bottom and lift. There goes that little piece of parchment. All right. Still a little bit warm. Again, pushing down with my very thin, flexible knife, pushing against the metal to loosen that cake. All right, now I have to move a little quickly here because I don't want to break my cake. How about I do this so you can see it? Roll that or spin that out and down. All right. The apple crown cake we had glazed with apricot jam, but for the honey cake, we're going to take a little dish of honey and brush that on. Now you can also, if you want it to really run into the cake, just make little slits. And it is best to do this while the cake is still a little bit warm. Look at that. Sweet New Year. Right there on the platter. I can tell you right now, taste this cake, and you're never going to say that you hate honey cake. But you're going to say, I love Leah's honey cake. Have a sweet New Year.